Joshua Tree, Grand Canyon and Zion National Park, Glen Canyon and Hoover Dam, Horseshoe Bend and Hearst Castle. In 8 days, traveling 2,250 miles, collecting 8 Junior Ranger badges and 16 souvenirs. In an epic road trip and an experience of a lifetime. Day 1. We decided to drive by the picturesque Pacific coast on CA1, taking breaks at regular intervals to enjoy the beauty of Pacific coast and the majestic Pacific Ocean. Along the way, we watched elephant seals at their natural habitat. We were carrying home-cooked lunch, and what could have been a better place than Shell Beach for our lunch break. I also had fun in the kids' play area. Along the drive, the sky kept changing its color. There were back-to-back traffic near Pasadena, so we took a break to fill gas and have dinner. Google suggested Chutney as the nearby Indian food joint, but the food was not that great. I would not recommend this place. We then took a quick walk around the area. Pasadena looked interesting. At around 9:30, we reached our shelter for the night at Rancho Cucamonga. Day 2. We woke up early and by 7 we left Rancho Cucamonga for Joshua Tree National Park. We took a break at Whitewater Rest Area on I-10 in a short while. It's a nice place for a quick break. Driving on I-10 and CA62 East was a pleasure. At around 10 o'clock we reached Joshua Tree National Park. It is a spectacular landscape with giant, mesmerizing rock formations. The rocky landscape seemed to be urging us to explore it, an urge that was hard to resist. We couldn't help but climb the rocks and explore further. Oh my God! It was not easy, but the view from the top was worth the effort. It was breathtaking. There is a rock formation called Skull Rock. It resembles the shape of a human skull and thus named so. The view from the Skull Rock was also fascinating. From there, I noticed a large oval rock which seemed to be balanced on 2 separate rocks. I walked through narrow passages to reach there. It looked like a perfect spot for chanting. Joshua Tree National Park is a land sculpted by strong winds and occasional torrents of rain. Due to the abundance of Joshua trees, it is named so. This is also where 2 deserts, Mojave and Colorado, come together. While exploring the park, I also completed my Junior Ranger activity book. And on returning to the visitor center, I collected my first Junior Ranger badge of this trip.
Congratulations, Junior Ranger! Woo! You are officially Junior Ranger, Joshua Tree National Park.
At around 1 o'clock, we waved goodbye to Joshua Tree National Park and resumed our journey. We thought we would take a break in another hour or so, but we hardly found any roadside place to stop by. At around 3 o'clock, we reached Needle, a junction town in the border of California and Arizona. We were fortunate to find flavors of India there, and we satiated our hunger with freshly cooked Indian food. Our car also quenched its thirst. We refilled the gas tank. At around 4 o'clock, we reconvened our journey towards Grand Canyon Village. We soon passed the board, "Arizona welcomes you." Driving for another 3.5 hours, we reached Red Feather Lodge, our shelter for the next 2 nights. Day 3. When we woke up in the morning, we found our car to be covered with overnight snow. We cleaned it up as much as we could and headed towards Grand Canyon National Park. After reaching Grand Canyon, the first thing we did was to board an Orange Line shuttle to check out South Kaibab Trailhead, Yaqui Point, and Pipe Creek Vista. South Kaibab Trailhead offers a spectacular view of the Grand Canyon at sunrise. When we reached Yaqui Point, our eyes were searching for Vishnu Temple, a rock formation that resembles the shape of a Hindu temple. We read about it when we were researching about the Grand Canyon, and here is the Vishnu Temple. Sun rays blocked by the canyon edges enhance the beauty of the vistas. Yaqui Point offers some breathtaking views. The Pipe Creek Vista's name is absolutely befitting. The creek at the bottom of the canyon looks like a pipe. Next was the Red Line tour. We visited Trailview Overlook, Maricopa Point, Hoppy Point, Mojave Point, Pima Point, and Hermit's Rest. The vastness of the Grand Canyon is observed from every point, and the Trailview Overlook is not an exception. At Maricopa Point, I noticed a rock formation that looked like an arena to me. I wouldn't be surprised if angels dance here on full moon nights. It was Hoppy Point where we got the first glimpse of the Colorado River. The view of the Colorado River was much more prominent from Pima Point. I also had a close look at the canyon wall at Pima Point, and I was amazed to find so many colors and layers of the earth on the canyon wall. By the time we reached Hermit's Rest, the last stop of the Red Line shuttle, the clock suggested it was time for lunch, so we decided to go to the market plaza. After lunch, we went to the Xanterra gift shop, which has a great collection of souvenirs made by local artisans. As always, we collected a few. I also completed my Junior Ranger activity book there, and it was time for me to get my second Junior Ranger badge of this trip. Then we went to Mather Point. When we reached there, the sun seemed to be focusing on one particular spot, resulting in an amazing view. It was getting windy and snowy, so we wanted to drive to Desert View as quickly as possible. As we were progressing, the intensity of the snowfall increased. Thus, we returned from the midway. While returning, we saw a herd of elks crossing the road. I have never seen elks from such a close proximity. By the time we reached Red Feather Lodge, the snowfall had turned into a snowstorm, an intense snowstorm. my first ever snowstorm. A new feather to my learning experience. Day 4. We wanted to enjoy the tranquility of the Grand Canyon at sunrise. So we woke up early, got ready, and headed towards the Grand Canyon. It is said that the best time to experience the Grand Canyon is at sunrise and sunset. We could not experience the sunset yesterday since it got cloudy and started snowing in the late afternoon. Due to last night's snowstorm, every surface, roads, parking lots, all were covered with snow. Skidding is very common on icy roads, so we drove carefully and slowly. When we reached the Grand Canyon, the outside temperature was -6 degrees Celsius, the coldest temperature that we have ever experienced. We slowly and carefully walked to the Mather Point and experienced the Grand Canyon to slowly brighten up and lighten up with the sun. All the effort so far was worth the experience. After a while, we returned to the Red Feather Lodge. At around 9:30 a.m., we checked out and headed towards Horseshoe Bend. We wanted to take AZ 64 East, but on reaching the intersection of 64 North and 64 East, we found it to be closed due to last night's heavy snowfall. Thus, we had to return back and take the route via Flagstaff. It was a longer drive, but a nice one. The view of the snow-flooded San Francisco Peak accompanied our drive along the I-40 East. At around 3 o'clock, we reached the junction of AZ 64 East and AZ 89, where we would have reached earlier if 64 East was not closed. While driving on 89 North, we got a glimpse of the famous Painted Desert, where art comes to life. A vast landscape which features rocks in every hue, from deep lavenders to rich grays, reds, oranges, and pinks. It felt like we were driving through a painting. AZ-89 passes through a cut just before reaching Page. At around 4 o'clock, we reached Horseshoe Bend. As the name suggests, it is a horseshoe-shaped meander on the Colorado River, flowing gently 1,000 feet below the overlook. From the parking area, it is 3/4 of a mile one-way hike to the cliff of this natural wonder, which is forming for over millions of years. Horseshoe Bend was formed by water following its natural path of least resistance and cutting through the sandstones. And that's the wrap for Day 4. Day 5. First, we went to Glen Canyon Dam Overlook. Not only the dam, but the surrounding geology is equally interesting. We were amazed to witness countless layers of sandstones which have been forming over millions of years. Then, we went to Carl Hayden Visitor Center next to the dam. It's an equally interesting place, and we spent quite a while learning about the history of the Glen Canyon Dam. I also finished the 2 Junior Ranger activity books and collected my 3rd and 4th Junior Ranger badges of this trip. Here we can see the Lake Powell behind the Glen Canyon Dam. At around noon, we began our journey towards the spectacular Zion National Park, and we soon passed the board, "Welcome to Utah." The drive to Zion National Park is no less mesmerizing than our yesterday's drive through the painted desert. Every bit of the journey is equally fascinating. The landscape and plantation kept changing as we progressed. I would rather keep quiet and let you enjoy the beauty. The color of the road UT9 West suddenly turned red, which indicates that we have reached Zion National Park. No sooner than we crossed the east entrance, we were welcomed by the checkerboard mesa, which is aptly named as it resembles a checkerboard. Soon we entered the 1.1 mile long Zion Tunnel, the longest tunnel that I have ever passed through. We noticed several rock formations like the Great Arch, East Temple, Twin Brothers as we drove to the visitor center. It was time to collect my 5th Junior Ranger badge of the trip and 3rd one for the day.
Good job! Congratulations!
We had enough time to board one of the Zion shuttles and experience the spectacular Zion National Park along the Zion Canyon. On reaching the Temple of Sinawava, the last stop of the shuttle, we got down and explored the area. We observed several mule deers along the Virgin River that flows through the canyon. Mule deers are named so because of their ears, which are large like those of a mule. We also walked to the beginning of the Narrows. After a while, we returned back to the visitor center and experienced another view of Zion. As the sun was setting, only the peaks were receiving the light, creating a spectacular ambience. When the sun went behind the mountains, we left the park and drove to the Pioneer Lodge, our shelter for the next 2 nights. We were fortunate to find Bamboo Chinese restaurant next to the Pioneer Lodge. The food was delicious and the service was prompt. We couldn't have asked for anything better. It has been such a wonderful and eventful day. And now it is time to rejuvenate for tomorrow. Day 6. It was snowing when we woke up. The snow and the clouds veiled the red mountains behind them. As planned earlier, we took a shuttle from Springdale to the visitor center. The weather is absolutely unpredictable in Zion, and by the time we reached the visitor center, it became partially sunny. We took the trail to the Virgin River and spent some time enjoying the serenity and the beauty of the Virgin River, as well as the surroundings. After a while, we took the Zion shuttle to the Emerald Pool trailhead. As we moved through the canyon, we witnessed many famous named structures. The Court of the Patriarchs was one of them. On reaching the Zion Lodge, we got down and walked towards the Emerald Pool. As we walked, the red mountains paired up with the clouds in playing hide and seek. However, when they appeared, they left us spellbound. We had to settle at the lower Emerald Pool as the trail to the upper pool was closed. The sound of the gently falling water from the top of the red cliff created a breathtaking ambience. After a while, we walked back to Red Rock Grill for lunch, and we also collected a few handmade souvenirs by the local artisans from the adjacent Xanterra store. Later in the afternoon, we took a shuttle towards the Narrows. When crossing the Weeping Rock stop, we saw people hiking to the top of the Angel's Landing, the most famous hike in Zion National Park. Another rock formation caught our eyes in the same location that looked like three faces to me. I also heard my parents discussing it to resemble Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar to them. On reaching the temple of Sinavava, we walked to the beginning of the Narrows and spent some time there before returning back. It was time to say goodbye to the spectacular Zion National Park. Until we meet again. Day 7. It had been a delightful stay at the Pioneer Lodge, and then it was time to begin our return journey. From Utah through Arizona, followed by Nevada, to California. We drove through a wide spectrum of the geology. Every shape and hue had their own prominence. We took a detour to visit Lake Mead and the famous Hoover Dam. Lake Mead is a reservoir formed by the Hoover Dam on the Colorado River. It was pure coincidence that we met the Colorado River for the fourth time on the trip. First in the Grand Canyon, then at Horseshoe Bend, later at Lake Powell, and lastly at Lake Mead. At Lake Mead Visitor Center, I completed 3 more Junior Ranger activity books and collected 3 more badges, making it a total of 8 Junior Ranger badges in this trip. We then drove to the Hoover Dam and also drove over it to the Arizona time zone. The border of Arizona and Nevada runs through the Colorado River here. Hoover Dam is an engineering marvel, but in my opinion, dams are more harmful than good to the environment. After spending a while at Hoover Dam, we resumed our journey towards Los Angeles. We entered California around late afternoon, and in a short while, we drove through snow-covered mountain pass. It looked so beautiful that we took a short pause at Valley Wells rest area to get a better view of it. By the way, we have been here earlier on our way to Las Vegas during 2016 Thanksgiving break. Time flies. As we drove towards Los Angeles, the waxing crescent of late November accompanied us in the western sky. What could have been a better way to end the day? Day 8. Last night, we decided to stop by the Hearst castle on our way back. As we drove, the beautiful California kept us mesmerizing. Snow-cladded mountains shined brightly in the golden sunlight against the background of the early morning sky. Natural beauty in California is ubiquitous at every turn. For a while, we drove by the majestic Pacific Ocean. Though we started the day with the bright golden sun, by the time we reached Hearst Castle, it had already started raining. Hearst Castle is one of the most visited California state parks. This grand, lavish estate was conceived by William Randolph Hearst and his architect Julia Morgan. It was built between 1919 and 1947. Hearst named it La Cuesta Encantada. We took a guided tour around some of the beautiful European sculptures and architecture. Turquoise outdoor Neptune pool, deep blue indoor Roman pool, lavishly decorated party and dining rooms, a private movie theater. Mark of luxury is abundant in every corner. Once Hearst Castle also had many exotic wildlife in its private zoo. Not anymore. After the tour, we had our lunch and then collected the final souvenirs of the trip and headed towards Cupertino. It was quite an anxious drive along CA1 on one of the heaviest rainy days. However, we made it safely and reached Cupertino after traveling 2,250 miles. I hope you have enjoyed watching this epic road trip chronicle. Thank you.